Hi, Summer Tot Hill here, and every week on my Instagram stories, I host a Q&A with my followers. What you're about to hear is a compilation of some of those answers. All right, let's get into it. "45 years old, happily divorced, have a disdain for almost all men. How do I change this?" Well, firstly, congratulations on your divorce. It's always a good thing when a woman manages to wriggle out from underneath the boot on her head. As to getting over your disdain for men, do you have to? What are the consequences to you disdaining men? After all, you can't oppress the oppressor. So you might dislike men, but you cannot cause the kind of lasting and systemic harm towards men that men can do towards women when they hate them. Do you need to change your disdain? I get that admitting that you have disdain for men will get you labelled a man-hater, but doesn't the patriarchy as a system deserve our hate, and at the very least our disdain? Patriarchy and the entire concept of masculinity and manhood as they currently stand are relentlessly harmful. Almost all violence and sexual assault against women is committed by men, and almost all violence against men is committed by men. Almost no sexual violence by men against women ever results in a conviction, and almost no sexual assault allegations are false. Almost all women will do way more domestic and caring labour than the men who are supposed to be their partners. Almost all women experience less sexual pleasure when they're having sex with cis-het men. And then there's the gender pay gap. And maybe the question for you is not so much how can I change my disdain for men, it's why do I want to? Is it because you hope to one day feel love and romance again with a man? I mean, it is possible to feel a great deal of love and romance in your friendships and with women, but that's not really what I'm talking about. If you do want to be in a romance with a man again, you have to think about, will it just once again lead to his attempting to subjugate you? And the odds are pretty high. Do you need that? Or can you use your disdain to avoid it? And you can have fun little flings with men who cater to your pleasure and your happiness, but who you don't give your life to. Maybe you want to get rid of your disdain for men because you have men in your life, family, friends, colleagues, that you don't want to feel bitter resentment towards all the time. Well, the thing about having positive relationships with people is that you have to be honest with them about how what they're doing affects you. And if they're saying and doing things that contribute to your oppression and your dismissal and your denigration, then you do have to hold them to account and have those difficult conversations. But of course, that is work. And it feels fucked that we have to do the work when men could just not behave with misogynistic views to begin with. But if you do choose to try to do that work and address those men's behaviour by calling them in or calling them out, their reaction to that will tell you everything about whether they get to come down off your disdain pile or not. So I don't think that you have to rush to reduce your justified disdain for men. Divorce is blindingly painful, speaking from experience, and it can take a really long time to heal from what it taught you about how men can be. So I think you can use this disdain to hold men relentlessly to account. You ask them the hard questions, you set hard boundaries, you vet them mercilessly, and be prepared to only offer your attention and your labour to the ones who can demonstrably prove that they are actively working to end gendered oppression. And until you find one of those, you don't need one, and you don't need to not disdain the concept of a man as it is constructed. You are free of serving men, and that includes thinking well of them. It's up to them to work on themselves. I don't feel educated enough to stand up to misogynistic comments. How do I fix this? How do I learn more? Do you think that any mediocre white man ever felt like he was not educated enough to give his opinion on something that he felt strongly about, all while denying that he was getting emotional? I don't mean this to belittle your question. This is something I have felt all my life. It always feels like we have to have the perfect answer to a misogynistic comment because there is so much at stake and there is so much we need to say to defend our basic humanity. Here's how you fix this. Firstly, I want you to remember that you don't have to know everything, and anything that you do to just push back against a misogynistic idea or comment will push the needle, and it will inspire any girls and women who happen to be witnessing you doing it. Next tip, choose which hill you're going to die on. You don't have to be perfect at every topic within feminism. It is a very big, broad banner. You can just choose to become an expert on whichever aspect of it you are more passionate about. It could be rape culture, it could be abuse, it could be the pay gap, it could be misogynoir, it could be anti-fatness, it could be men's violence against women. Just become heavily invested in learning more about that particular topic and don't sweat the other stuff. This will help conserve your energy and stop you getting frustrated. Keep notes. I'm a really big fan of any kind of cloud-based document so you can access it from wherever you are. And anytime you find an interesting article or source, or you have a really interesting thought or see a quote, pop it in that document. Then you'll have a running sort of compendium of the things that concern you the most in misogyny. And if you do have some of these arguments in writing, copy and paste your comments somewhere that you can access it again so that next time this comes up, you don't have to expend extra effort. Also, have the audacity of uninformed men. You've probably seen in my comments, men like to slide in with the most inaccurate, untrue, and ill-informed opinions you've ever seen, and they have utmost confidence about it. They don't seem to feel any obligation to qualify their statements or provide any evidence, and they often display a kind of obvious lack of understanding of the fundamental factors that make up the issue. But they're still there being very loud. Like, imagine having that kind of unbridled faith in your own opinions without anything to back it up and any feeling like you should back it up. You're allowed to just have vibes, not thoughts. So I'm just saying, if they don't feel the need to have any expertise or experience about something before sounding off about it, then maybe you don't have to hold yourself to that much of a high standard either. Also, some people are just arguing with you for sport and they will never be persuaded by data, facts, or evidence. Their whole point is to frustrate and exhaust you. Once you learn to recognize those, you can just walk away because you need to conserve your energy. So that's how you fix how you feel about it, but you did actually want to get educated and learn more, and I am here to help you with that too. The first thing you have done is follow me, which is great. And that just speaks to one of my points, which would be to make a point of following feminists and educators about gendered oppression on social media. If you are someone who spends time on social media, then this will just mean that you are getting information in your brain day after day. The other thing, of course, is that if you want to get educated on a subject, you have to do some reading and listening and asking questions. So some places you might want to start. I have a story highlight, which is a feminist library. It contains a reading list. You could basically read any of the books on that list. I also, I think, provide some advice about maybe where you can start. There are also websites which specialize in specific areas of misogyny, patriarchy, feminism. You could start with the Everyday Feminism website. You can also, on my posts, if there's one you're interested in, look at the hashtags that I use and click on the hashtag. That will take you to like all of the other Instagram content in that hashtag, which can be a really good way to look up a particular subject and find out more of what other people are saying about it. And lastly, and most importantly, ask questions. DM me and ask me how to find resources on a specific subject. I can definitely give you specific recommendations. DM your other feminists that you follow. If someone seems to be talking a lot about a specific subject and you want to know more, then ask them what books they like to refer to, which studies they refer to a lot. See if they will share some resources with you. Good luck. I know that you can do this. You don't have to be the expert on every misogynistic comment. You just have to get in there and start punching. Quick one to finish with. How do I stop the guys at work from interrupting me? Oh yeah, I'll give you 3 statements and 2 tactics for that statement. 1, I'm not finished. Statement 2, I'm still speaking. Statement 3, stop interrupting me. Now your 2 tactics. Your first tactic is to, every time they try to interrupt you, just keep talking. Keep talking until they run out of steam and can't talk over you any longer. Do not accept the interruption. No, no, no. Keep talking. It's hard to do at first, but once you practice it, I think you'll get the hang of it. And the final tactic is this one I learned off a woman on Twitter, which is go into a meeting telling the men that every time they interrupt you in this meeting, you are going to bang your fist on the table, and then you stick to that, you do it. You're all going to have a laugh about it, but they are also going to learn just how often they interrupt you. That's all for tonight. Thank you so much for those questions. I really appreciated the opportunity to get to share the answers to those. I really feel like they could be like universally helpful to everyone. So again, thank you for that. I hope to be back next week, but I will be in New York City, so I don't know what day or what time I will be able to do these Q&As, but once I'm there, I'm sure I'll figure it out. As usual, I've put my donation link there. If you feel like my work tonight or any other day has helped you, has improved your life in any way, helped you clarify things in your head, helped you make decisions in order to have a more liberated life, or helped you to help another woman or girl, please consider thanking me with a little donation. As I always say, women should be paid for their labor, just like you should, just like I sometimes get to be. No obligation, of course. And yeah, like I said, hopefully I'll see you next week from New York.